That's awesome, man. Well, I love you sharing your story and sharing your journey and things like that. One other thing I wanted to touch on here, if we could, is this is a big problem that I used to have. And I wondered if you could address it because I feel like I've seen it in a couple of your threads, but I used to actually tell people I'm a great multitasker and I'm like the king of busy. Like when I worked at like a bank job, man, I was like, dude, I was like, oh, give me 15 things to do. I'll be that guy that's running around like crazy. But then I kind of realized from studying a lot of what you say and some research on my own too, that there's a big difference between productive and busy.
Yeah.
Can you kind of walk us through that a little bit?
Yeah, this is something I picked up in my corporate world. This is where I really got focused in on multitasking being pointless. Maybe also as well within the sales world, because when you're selling things to people, you want to sell one $5,000 suit to one person in 1 hour, not five $1,000 suits to five people over 5 hours. So you're running around all day for 5 hours, really busy selling five suits, and you made $5,000. Or you sit back, you be a bit more thoughtful about the customers you're approaching, where you're standing in the store, or even the products that you show people. You have the confidence to actually go and show them the higher ticket items, and you spend 1 hour and you make $5,000, or you sell a $5,000 item. So this is the idea, the difference between doing 10 things and doing one thing well, is that you can end up making more money by getting more done by doing less things. It's also a concept talked about by a book called Essentialism by Greg McKeown, which is a good read. I'm currently listening to a second one, Effortless, which is also a good listen. So when I got into the corporate world, every manager and every staff member is all about multitasking and doing 10 things at once. They're like, they have their messenger open, they've got their emails on, their phones going off, and everybody's just like, and it's all this crazy activity all day long.
I'm getting PTSD, man. I haven't worked in corporate in a year, but I'm literally getting PTSD thinking about this now. I forgot about how that is just the norm, man. That's what everybody does. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I come along and I switch off my notifications. I don't answer emails. And I had all the key law firms. I wrote out all their phone numbers beside on a sticky note and taped it to my desk. So when I first had this job, manager would walk over and say, why have you got 20 phone numbers written down there? He says, oh, they're the 20 law firms I want to speak to. So if I don't recognize the phone number, I don't pick up the phone. And the manager was like, you can't do that. And I said, yeah, I can. I'm busy doing something else. So like I strategically did things that were counterintuitive to what they were asking me to do. But then I started getting all these extra results. And initially I was actually put under pressure by different managers by doing these kind of strategies because they saw me doing things differently. And all of a sudden I started getting more results and positive feedback from the lawyers in these law firms that we were doing these things with. So I'm a big believer in strategic laziness. So like I just want to do something once, and that's it, and it's done. And that's not really lazy. That's about being efficient. But if you want to be efficient and you want to do less work and get more done, you got to look at things like a lazy person would look at them. How can I do this and do it once and not have to do it again? You know, it's almost like a super efficient person is a lazy person, if you know what I mean, because they don't want to work all day long. They just want to get things done. And that's why multitasking is a busy trap. Yeah, it's a trap that makes people think like they're moving the needle forward, but they're just really scratching the needle in the same spot every day.
Yep. That's the biggest shift I think I've had since following you and learning a lot from you is I literally would go to bed at night. This is embarrassing to say, but I'd have 25 things on my to-do list the next day. And then I'd be frantic. I'd wake up with anxiety. I'd wake up, I do none of them well, right? And I wasn't really moving any needle. And now, man, when I go to bed, I've got maybe 2 priorities for the next day. I want to shoot one YouTube content and I want our podcast. And then the rest of the day, man, is things I enjoy. I'm working out, I'm walking, playing at the park with my kids, doing those things, right? And if something else comes along and I choose to do it, sure, that's cool. But I know I'm going to conquer those 2 things, and that's been really big for me too, man. So I appreciate you sharing a lot of your wisdom, man. I'm telling you, those threads you put out, if anybody is watching this, please follow Steven on Twitter. I'm telling you, you can literally read this man's threads. He'll put out a couple threads, 3 a week, probably something like this.
Two or three. I had a tweet do well today, so I didn't put a thread out because I was like, oh, one's moving, and I don't need to put a thread out.
I'm strategic like that too. I keep a couple in the chamber, so if some of them flop, you got another one ready to fire out. But yeah, man. I mean, your threads are just, I read them over and over sometimes, and I'll go back and I think I usually comment under them a bunch of flames because I'm like, dude, this is fire. So I really appreciate all the effort you put into that and to helping people like me and everyone get better, man. I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart, brother.